What's going on, guys? So I just went off on my rant almost on the other video that I just did, talking about Scarlet Violet, kind of going over it, saying, that I wasn't really too hype about it. I wasn't going to be too shocked or surprised when this set releases. I think that Koraidon and Miraidon are awesome. I think they are very desirable. But other than that, I just didn't feel too strongly about the Arcanine or Gyarados or the rest of the set, to be honest. I didn't really mention Crown Zenith too much because we're still in Crown Zenith set time. So, but I did want to touch base on the fact that I think Crown Zenith is amazing, honestly. One thing they did such a good job of is bringing so many artworks of older generation Pokemon. I think that's why it was so good, because they found ways to reinvent the older Pokemon with not making the artworks all too crazy. And that's the point of this video. Is Pokemon kind of getting out of control? It's just too much going on with the full arts and the trainer galleries and the rainbow rares and the V cards, and now we'll get into the EX cards, and now the full arts are technically secret rares. And in Scarlet and Violet base set, which will be releasing I guess in a month or two, it looks like we have so many random alternate art cards, gallery cards, whatever you want to call them. It's just too much. There is too much going on. We are going to get a boatload of trainer full art cards. I don't know if you guys are going to love this or hate this or are on the fence about this. I'm not really a huge fan of it. I'm not really a huge fan of all of the trainers that are going to be there. I'm not really a huge fan of the artworks. I'm not really a huge fan of the chase cards. Honestly, other than Koraidon and Miraidon, there's not much going on for that set for me. On top of that, I think there's a bigger issue going on with Pokemon in general. Right now, it feels like there's just too much going on. It feels like they need to scale back a little bit, find a way to get a little bit of that old school hand-drawn artwork going again, and get back to a more simplistic artistic approach. I don't want to be that guy that's like boxing in creativity, right? But when I take a look at this Jungle Rhyhorn that isn't worth anything, when I take a look at this card, and let's just zoom in on this very kind of bland card, but when you look at this card and you look at that hand-drawn artwork, that really is a beautifully centered card. And I'm not talking about the centering as far as the card and its borders. I'm talking about the artwork in the card. Pokemon did a really good job of that, of understanding proportions and symmetry and negative space. And that's something that you're just not seeing anymore. And it's very traditional, but it's just, there's something about it that's just so fantastic. I absolutely love Butterfree, so I have to put him up here and shout him out. Got a bunch of dust and things on this sleeve from sitting on this table for a millennia. But really, look at these artworks. Really just outstanding. And I don't know. I look at some of these and I think they're too simple. I know I need to recenter. I need to refocus this. I look at a lot of these and I feel like, this old stuff is just out. It's just out. It's on its way out. You're not going to be able to hold on to it forever. Even if the values rise, people are going to be focused on the modern sets coming out. And I have nothing against that. This is not my ploy to pump up vintage and kind of degrade modern. I think that Sword and Shield was fantastic. I think the sets were great, even though when I got back into modern collecting, I even thought that Sword and Shield was a little bit lackluster in some respects. But moving forward now, I'm pretty happy with those sets overall. Now, I am a huge vintage fan. That's easy for anybody to see, but it still doesn't change the fact that I'm open to modern sets coming out. Another big issue for me, aside from all the craziness and all the artworks and all of the ingenuity and creativity and the artist being original, that's really important. these artworks are good. Just because I can't appreciate some of the Pokemon, most of the Pokemon that are coming out in this set coming up, doesn't mean that it's not a good set. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of people that are hyping up Scarlet and Violet. I just think that overall Pokemon needs to find a way to reach back to their roots and find some of that simplistic artwork approaches to their cards and the designs. I think in some ways they are kind of doing that. I really do. I think in some ways with the EX series cards, they're like, okay, Sword and Shield, that era is over. It's over. Now let's do something new. Let's do something fresh with a little hint of the past. And so it's very exciting thinking about these new EX cards, because that kind of gives you that nostalgia for the EX series cards that we had back in the day when EX series was a thing from 2003 to 2007, which I am just starting to binder those sets, because I do think that they are pivotal to having a true collection of Pokemon cards up to now. I really feel like you can't ignore the history of Pokemon, and you should have a little bit of all of those older sets. But I think that's what's so great about Scarlet and Violet. I think that's what's so great about Pokemon and what they're doing now, moving forward, bringing these EX cards back, bringing that silver border back. I really think that it's great. And it goes hand in hand with the point I'm making about it's gotten too crazy and they need to scale it back. In that sense, I think they're doing a good job. They're saying, hey, this worked back in the day. Let's try this again and let's make it work again. And I think just the fact that they could have done anything else, they didn't have to do EX. They are doing EX as a tribute, in my opinion, to the old style, and kind of bringing those feelings back and making it fun for the people that are the majority of the investors and the collectors, which are not little kids. Mind you, Pokemon should be a card game that's primarily really for the youth and for kids to have fun and have something to do with their friends. And really it's evolved from that to being an adult collector hobby, where you've got influencers and YouTubers like myself and people ripping up packs, and honestly, in a lot of ways, myself included, making it harder for the average collector, the average kid with the allowance money and the chore money to go out and buy that product. It's gotten crazy. And along with that, so has all of the art styles and the products and the releases, and it's just back to back to back to back to back. And we just can't handle it. It's not sustainable. All these products, all these different artworks, it's not sustainable. You can't keep up with it. They need to make it a simpler approach. There should only be a couple products. There should only be a couple chase cards. They should have, maybe a couple different alternate arts. I think having this huge amount of variety makes it that much harder to enjoy something. It's called choice paralysis, and I think that's what's happening with Pokemon. I think we have way too many options of all these cards that we want to pull, and honestly, it's paralyzing trying to go after what you want. There's so much stuff that's released in just the last couple of years. You'd be hard pressed to try and keep up with it and catch up to where we are now, even if you only missed out on 2 years. Imagine being like me and missing out on pretty much 20 years of collecting and trying to get back all that stuff that you had as a kid, but didn't stick with or didn't hold on to. It's a lot, and it can be overwhelming. And I just want to say that it's not abnormal to feel that way, that this stuff is all overwhelming. Sometimes you might have to take a break and take a breather from it all, but I think that's what Pokemon did so well with Crown Zenith. Is I think Crown Zenith, you only had the ETB, the Pikachu box, and the Reggie boxes. You only had a couple products. Boom. Exactly what I'm talking about. We have a simple approach. We only have so many products. Okay, and you had the tins. You had the tins too. Okay. Okay, and you're going to have the bird tins as well. The Crown Zenith bird tins. I think that's Crown Zenith. That's Crown Zenith, not Scarlet, I think. Anyways, we need a more narrowed down product line, okay? First off, Second off, these sets should be smaller. I don't care what you say. These sets should be smaller. The pull rate should be better. People are spending so much money. We are in a recession. Come on, Pokemon, give us back a little bit. $160 a booster box. I know so many of you are going to say, never pay that price. I can hook you up. And lately I have had people reaching out to me, helping me get better prices on this stuff. So I'm excited because I'm going to be going to another shop that's in Charlotte that someone's reached out to me about. And I'm hopefully going to be getting my Crown Zenith product that I'll be opening on the channel for a much lower price point, which honestly just equates to way more value for me. I would not be the least bit surprised if I kept opening up Crown Zenith while Scarlet and Violet was dropping and everybody's opening up Scarlet and Violet. I know that no one's going to be as interested in Crown Zenith when that happens, and maybe I will be just like everybody else and I'll be opening up Scarlet and Violet too, because let's be honest, nobody wants to miss out on the hype, right? Nobody wants to miss out on the hype. I don't want to miss out on the hype. I'll probably open Scarlet Violet product, even though I'm saying right now that I think it's, for the most part, kind of a hard pass for me. I'm being honest. I know that there might be people that disagree, that think Scarlet and Violet is amazing, and that's great. That's amazing for you that you feel that way about the set. It's different for everybody. Everybody has different needs as far as being collectors and going after certain products. You know, once you've been a collector for so many years, from the collectors that I've talked about, what tends to happen, it hasn't happened with me yet, but what tends to happen is you just sell everything. You sell everything, not because you're getting out of the hobby, but you want to dial in your collection. You want to dial in your collection, you want to get certain products and certain cards that are just going to hold value and be better investments. And that makes a lot of sense from a rational standpoint. The average person can't afford to just blow money on a bunch of random Pokemon product. And I never would have imagined that my collection would have grown to being what it is today. But I do want to say that it's very respectable to liquidate your stuff and have a couple pieces of your collection that you think are very valuable and worth holding long term. There's nothing wrong with that. I am not one of those people. I will be collecting the rest of my life. I'll be collecting Pokemon. This channel may every now and again have a different kind of content on it, but Pokemon really is the channel's base content. This really is technically a Pokemon channel. I mean, I just made an intro for you guys just the other day. So, well, I made an intro for the channel, but still, that's because I want it to be more professional. I want the channel to look better, and I'm doing everything that I can, and I hope you guys can appreciate that and support me. And if you guys don't like the intro, just tell me. If it's a waste of people's time, just tell me, because I never wanted one in the first place. But anyways, getting a little off topic, Crown Zenith was a great example of keeping it simple in terms of the set not being crazy, not having way too much stuff in it, but at the same time, all the arts were really good. Honestly, when I look over Scarlet and Violet and I look over all the full art cards, you know, and then I look at Crown Zenith and I look at the Galarian Gallery, I don't know if it's just because it's a special set and it's the last set of Sword and Shield, so it's just not even relatively a fair comparison, because I'm comparing the last greatest of the great sets in a great era to the first of a set in an era that we have no idea what we're in for. So I feel like it's not a fair comparison, but I just think, you know, the artworks they did with Suicune and Entei and Raikou in Crown Zenith were really phenomenal. I'm not even talking about the gold cards, because it doesn't need to be that way. There don't need to be gold cards to begin with. They don't need to have all this crazy stuff. They can have, you know, this kind of Galarian Gallery trainer guy. It's so much, and I'm getting tired of having to remember all the terminology. I just would like to see them bring back holos being beautiful and having a great holo pattern. I think the Cosmo holo pattern is very safe, and I think we can definitely go back to that. And there's no shame in that. Pokemon's done a great job with holos over the years, but as I look over stuff from, 2010 up to now, I look at the holo patterns of cards I have in the back of like cards from all these different eras that I'm not really going after, but I've just happened to buy them from other people's collections. And I'm not all that impressed. I would really like to see traditional styles and traditional elements of the original card game coming back to the hobby and manifesting itself in this new set, this new era. Pokemon has had to have a whiff of all these influencers coming in. Everybody's saying, nothing beats, the nostalgia and the feel of the old classic cards. And you're right. Nothing does. I'm sorry, but nothing is going to beat the classic feel of vintage packs and the levels of excitement and stress and anxiety coming in to open those. Everything for me changed on the live stream I did where we opened the Gym Heroes packs. Those are the first 2 vintage packs I've ever opened up on the channel, and it changed everything about my perception of Pokemon. And like, if I'm gonna make content, I want to make content that I'm extremely proud of. And while doing openings isn't the content that I'm most proud of, it's the content that I enjoy the most. I will never enjoy opening up a modern product as much as I enjoy opening up a vintage product. We didn't even get anything in those packs, and it was still astronomically more fun and more energy than anything I could open today. That being said, in the next couple days, 3 more days, we'll be opening up a pack, and I really need to figure out what I'm going to do. Am I going to open a Fossil pack, a Gym Heroes pack, a Jungle pack? We've got some heavies for sure, over 21 grams, which that's all relative because it really matters what pack is coming from what box. Like, if you have a 21 gram pack, but all the packs are like almost 21 grams or slightly over 21 grams, then you need a 21.6, 21.7, 21.8 for it to truly be a heavy pack. So like, it's crazy because I was into collecting packs, last year, but this year I kind of didn't really think too much about it. But now, as I'm realizing I want to open vintage packs on the channel, I'm realizing I have to do my due diligence and I have to do my research. And so far, I have not won a single auction for a heavy pack. I keep getting outbid. People are just really into vintage still. And that market still, as far as sealed packs go, it seems really, really strong still. Anyways, little off topic. Again, I just think that Pokemon needs to reel it in a little bit, and I think they know what they need to do. We just might not see it in this first Scarlet and Violet base set. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think. Am I crazy? Am I just too old school? Am I wrong? You can tell me all that stuff. I don't mind. But these are my opinions, and I'm sharing them with you guys. Anyways, I think Pokemon's out of control. I think they need to dial it back. I think that I've been a typical retail buyer, investor, and I've fallen prey to buying everything in the big box stores. And now that I'm getting more into it and collecting more and investing more, I'm talking to people that are just like kind of making it clear to me that I never needed to pay the prices that I've been paying for all the products I've been buying, and neither do you. Now, this isn't certain. If you don't have a hobby shop near your location, it is going to hurt a lot more buying product. Luckily, Charlotte is a place where we have at least 3 or 4 really good hobby shops, and hopefully I can form a relationship and a mutually beneficial one where I can source product for kind of wholesale, and I can also shout out that shop, and we can both benefit. I will get some pulls, they will get some exposure, yeah, so we'll see how that goes, and I will give an update on that. But I just wanted to make a quick video touching base on the fact that I just think Pokemon is doing way too much, and it's gotten a little out of control. And I love the alternate arts that have been big chase cards and Sword and Shield. But I just did a video. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out, where we talk about Scarlet and Violet. Is it worth the hype? Is it a worthwhile investment? What am I going to be looking at? What am I going to be going after? What are the chase cards that I'm going to be going after? That's the kind of things that we'll be talking about. Miraidon, Koraidon, those are phenomenal. I'm a big lizard guy. I think those are great. I have a bearded dragon that reminds me a lot of, Groudon. But Koraidon and Miraidon are like, they hit the nail on the head as far as like seeing like a lizard Pokemon coming back onto the scene as kind of one of the legendary types. It's really phenomenal. The artworks for those are great. And I do think that Scarlet Violet booster boxes are going to have great value long term if you can get them for good prices. If you can get Scarlet and Violet for 110, 105, then fantastic. Buy the case if you can. But for the most part, people that are buying that set for $160, I really advise against it as far as paying that retail price. Now, do I think Scarlet and Violet is good overall? Yes, I do. Because if Koraidon and Miraidon were not in that set, there wouldn't be something for me to really go after, and then I would really not know what to tell you guys about those sets, because I like to at least have something that I can hang on to and say, this is going to be really good. But that set just made me come up with this video and made me realize that the Pokemon, there's just way too much going on with the artworks, with the terminology. They've got all these trainers and all these modern Pokemon and all these really unique, crafty, cool, artistic artworks, and I'm not discounting the artworks. The artworks are really great if you like those Pokemon. But for me, there's just too much going on. I'm not a fan of those Pokemon. I don't care about all of these kind of common, uncommon type Pokemon in my head that just don't make me go, wow, I have to have that one, and I have to have that one, and I have to have that one. Crown Zenith made me feel that way. It made me feel that way even with the Pokemon that I wasn't entirely crazy about. Now, I know when I see these other artworks in person, these full arts, these kind of alternate art cards that are more commonplace in Scarlet and Violet base, I think when I see them, maybe I'll have a change of heart and say, okay guys, I was wrong. This set's epic. This set's dope. These Pokemon are growing on me. I was wrong. I think a big part of that is actually playing the video games, and then you can keep up with the Pokemon and how playable they are, how good they are, and you can learn to love them and know them from that perspective. I think that's also hard for me, is that I'm not learning to play and love these Pokemon from that perspective, from a collector perspective, from an old school perspective, from a 90s kid perspective. It's just overwhelming to see all these newer Pokemon and to see all these artworks and to feel like I don't even know where to begin. Anyways, that is why I've decided to get a little cheap binder, cheap binders for these modern sets, because honestly, I really don't care too much about how these modern sets are stored. There's going to be plenty of supply to go around, so I got this cheap card guard. It was at some outlet thing where we got it for $7, but they're normally like 10 or 15. But I got this so that I could sleeve my Crown Zenith and my Silver Tempest sets in this, and then I might actually work my way down and order a couple more of these since they're super cheap. I might work my way down and start trying to binder a bunch of the Sword and Shield sets. It's a massive endeavor, and I should have just done it while the sets were coming out. I totally regret not just as the sets were coming out, I'm buying a $10 binder, I'm buying a $15 binder, I'm going to binder you, I'm going to binder you, I'm going to binder you. I wish I would have gone that route, because at the end of the day, nothing feels better than having all those binders totally organized. Even with Pokemon that you don't care about, they still fill in one of those spaces in your binders. So at the end of the day, even if I'm not crazy about what Pokemon's been doing lately, and I'm not crazy about Scarlet and Violet for the most part, I'm probably still going to be opening up product and trying to complete some kind of binder. So I just decided, you know what? Of course, this is my style, where instead of when I first got back into collecting vintage, instead of buying binders and starting to complete sets, I ended up buying all this other crap and then coming back to that. And that was a huge mistake, in my opinion. I think I should have just started bindering the sets that I respected, knew, and loved. And then at the same time, as Sword and Shield was coming out, Battle Styles and Rebel Clash and Darkness Ablaze and Vivid Voltage and Fusion Strike and Evolving Skies, when those were all coming out in succession, Chilling Reign, when all those were coming out, I wish I would have just bought binders for all of them. And I would have been right on par with just bindering everything. Honestly, most people that are on this channel might even have binder sets of all that stuff. It might not be complete because it's super hard to have a master set of any of the sets that released in Sword and Shield, and I used to just advise against it. But in my case, I have boxes and boxes of old bulk, not old, but I have boxes and boxes of bulk from all of the Sword and Shield sets, and I just have been giving it away in the stuff that I sell on Mercari. Also, if you are watching, I know it's late in the video, but I want to say a shout out to Joshua. Joshua, I appreciate you. You know exactly who you are. You shop with me on Mercari. You bought a couple theme decks. I really appreciate it. I hope you come back for more, and I hope you're happy with everything. Anyways, that's pretty much my rant. The end of this video. Let me know what you guys think about these sets. Let me know if it's been overwhelming, if you've been content with everything, and you know, what are your thoughts on Pokemon moving forward? Do you think that the Scarlet and Violet era is going to see a lot of older artworks with the EX cards, or do you think it's going to be a little bit weird still, and we're going to be seeing newer ways that they improve on these cards? I mean, the Arcanine and the Gyarados from Scarlet and Violet have crowns on their head. They didn't need crowns on their head. I'm sorry. If you like that, that's great. But they didn't need crowns on their head. They would have looked like such good full art cards without the crown at all. Anyways, guys, peace out. Let me know what you think.